Beaming out across the galaxy, this is where conspiracy on the wild side meets the perspective of a lifetime. This is the Free Zone with your host, Freeman.
Hello and welcome to the Free Zone. Well, we're about 165 days into our lockdown. We have protests turning into riots and looting and many people being murdered, shot in the streets. A psychopathic elite is being unveiled and human trafficking is becoming a popular topic. This is a day I never thought I'd see. We have a presidential election that appears to be a mockery. I can't figure that out. Meanwhile, there are two hurricanes bearing down on America that shock scientists, and they're calling it unsurvivable. There are fires, earthquakes, volcanoes, exploding lightning, everything going on around the planet. And I have this question. Is this what World War III looks like? Well, tonight we're going to find out because we have the great pleasure of talking with Elana Freeland. She's a writer, a ghostwriter, a lecturer who researches and writes on the deep state issues like geoengineering, MK Ultra, ritual abuse, targeting, and invasive electromagnetic weapons. She's best known for Chemtrails, her book, Chemtrails, HARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. And I'll tell you guys, if you haven't heard it, go back to freemantv.com and check it out. Our show about 3 years ago with Elana and Billy Hayes on this very topic and the space fence. You don't want to miss it because this leads right into Under an Ionized Sky, from chemtrails to space fence lockdown. I mean, lockdown was already in the terminologies before this ever happened. That book has been in existence. We discussed it years ago and is now finishing her third book in this series about synthetic biology and transhumanism. You all see it coming. This is connecting the dots between nanotechnology being delivered by geoengineering, GM foods, and these vaccinations. Elana's undergraduate degree was in creative writing with a second major in biology. Her Master of Arts degree from St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, concentrated on historiography. She lives in Olympia, Washington. I know it's beautiful there. Now, her website is elanafreeland.com. And she also maintains two private Facebook sites, one on geoengineering related issues and the other for everything else. So please give a warm welcome to Elana Freeland. So happy to have you on board at this time. I think you need, yes, there we go.
Yes, got it. Okay, thanks for having me, Freeman. Big surprise. I haven't been on here in a long time.
Well, what timing, right? I
Yes.
remember when we were talking with Billy Hayes in our last show that we were discussing HARP and Sura and its effects on Hurricane Katrina. And you had mentioned that those images showing the pulsing into Katrina had vanished off the internet. And I wasn't aware of that when you mentioned that. I hadn't thought about it. But, you know, here's you and I who have been looking at this so long that we remember those things instead of needing the internet to tell us it's true. Now we have Hurricane Laura bearing down. They're calling it unsurvivable. And the scientists themselves were shocked and saying that the rapid intensification of this storm was incredible and shocking. And currently, 500,000 people are without power and running to the hills. Does this, you know?
It's, I mean, I knew this was coming with the deep state in this election year. I knew that eventually they would go from a vaccination drama to cities in lockdown with riots going on drama. And surely that the geoengineering drama had to be front and center soon, because that's, you know, the wrong finger is still on the button of the geoengineering. And I keep watching it to see if there's been a shift, but so far, no go. It's still the deep state running the geoengineering weaponry.
When they stated they needed to combat climate change to cure COVID. That was a pretty clear signal, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's what's phenomenal is how many people have no idea. And it must be because they are not following the alternative media that I'm following. I have probably, well, at least hundreds of people around the world who send me emails and Facebook material in order to keep the conversation going as we all wake up and as we all attempt to stay awake. And I just can't believe there are people still watching the boob tube. Of course, I've never owned a television, and I can only imagine that that must be where they're getting their so-called truth from, is from the one-sided mockingbird media. Would you agree with that?
Oh, the mind control is baffling. I was in the grocery store just the other day, which takes me forever to actually get up the courage to go,
Right, me too.
right? And I'm the only person not in a mask. And if they charge me with murder in the future for that, so be it. But I wander around my grocery store and I feel like I'm in the invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre because I see the mind control going desperately. It's amazing to watch how they turn everybody on the orange man and how anyone could possibly be truly inspired by Joe Biden. I'm just like, how? But I know whenever they're putting out something, because I wasn't the only person without a mask a month ago. There was maybe 60-40. 40 without. But then something they said on this Mockingbird media suddenly changed all that. And I don't watch TV either, so I'm not programmed into it. But I witnessed this mind control. And I know, I mean, if you sit back and look at COVID and say, well, this could just be a psyop. This might not even be a virus. This might just be the flu, and it's the same numbers as the flu. And who cares about cases when they're actually testing your DNA? And none of this is real. What if none of it's real? And nobody can wrap their brain around the idea that they're all just in a psyop.
Yes. I mean, I, as you know, I'm doing this third book on how geoengineering connects with the synthetic biology that now is coming to the fore as our biggest problem, in my opinion. Um, when I first started geoengineering years ago, I've been in about 10 years now. I was friends with Clifford Carnicom, the independent scientist. We were both living in Santa Fe, and I would meet with Clifford as often as possible in order to go over some of the stuff he was seeing under his microscope and looking in the petri dishes at various cultures he was attempting to figure Morgellons out. And Morgellons is, I now know after all these years that yes, it is Morgellons. It's a bad name. It's from the 1700s, that name, but it is really nanotechnology. And so is what's been coming out lately with the doctors on the web, the good doctors, the truthful doctors, is that the virus that we're told to believe in is really it's really nanotech. It's something that arises when when our cells aren't doing well, and so is the germ and the bacteria and all the rest of the war model that Western allopathic medicine has clung to now for about 300 years now. Years ago, I had the opportunity to study macrobiotics, and I'm actually still macrobiotic, at least to the point where I'm not just eating brown rice and miso soup and seaweed, but I very much use yin yang as my medical model in my head as I'm figuring out what shall I eat? What shall I prepare for today's diet? To me, the yin yang, it really means in biochemical translation, yin is acid and alkaline is yang is alkaline. So if you can keep a diet, I learned many years ago, and boy, has it paid off, because I have not been to a doctor since I was 13, and I'm now 73. I use yin yang, and I use whole foods, and I want to keep my mind clear. I don't want to be dependent on any medical facility like the hospitals, which I consider to be armed now as places that you don't want to go. Most doctors are completely programmed by their medical educations. Very few are breaking free and in thinking their own thoughts and going into the research. They have the skill, they have the mental skill to do that. I recommend all doctors do that so that they can know the truth and not be caught up in this whirlwind of lies and a way of really keeping people under control. I mean, it all goes back to the fact that how does it tie into geoengineering? That's the key to me. And I learned from Clifford Carnicom way back when we were looking at my blood cells, my red blood cells under the microscope, and I was seeing some sort of entity sticking its head in my erythrocytes and sucking the iron out of them. It was incredibly shocking that you could take a theory like geoengineering or chemtrails or weather engineering, and you could actually see that whatever was being loosed up in the stratosphere by jets, drones, and rockets was actually coming down to the earth and actually being breathed in by me and going into my bloodstream and eventually being this entity in my bloodstream was now attacking my erythrocytes. It was unbelievably awakening for me that I really needed to concentrate on this issue seriously. And 3 books later, I'm still in it, but I know so much more now because with each book and the research I did for each book, I went all the way from thinking it was all about chemtrails, back when Adam Parfrey at Farrell House asked me if I thought I could write a book on chemtrails. That was the first book. And I was able to read the patents by Bernard Eastland for HAARP, the High Frequency Auroral Research Project up in Gakona, Alaska. And I was able to read Clifford's almost 100 papers at that point on Morgellons and write a chapter about that as well. Now, Clifford turned me on to a list that he had decided was really the list of operations that geoengineering was running. And that I'd like to read that list very briefly so that you understand we're not just talking, when we say the word geoengineering, your conditioning or programming might make you think that it has to do with climate change, carbons, global warming, or if you're a little more educated, weather engineering. Because yes, it's true, all the weather to my knowledge is now engineered. I don't know of any natural weather, not to say there isn't are pockets of it somewhere, but I don't know of them. So there are 7 basic operations, and with each book that I wrote, I went deeper and deeper and deeper into the list. So it starts out with weather engineering, and that makes sense. Because if you can run the weather, you can run the electricity in the atmosphere, especially if you've got ionospheric heaters zapping the ionosphere and bouncing those ions, or electrons that become ions, back to the Earth so that they can create an atmosphere that is utterly ionized and battery ready for many, many wireless electrical operations. So weather engineering is super, super important, not just to control the weather and blackmail nations into behaving, but it's also important as an energy source itself to keep things quickened, keep the battery triggered. Second operation is the chemical electromagnetic one, and we're seeing that a lot. Lightning from the ground is one of the things people are seeing now, not just from the sky, but from the ground. And that leads me right into the planetary geophysical operations, which have to do with the fact that the Earth is completely electrified now, deep down in, miles down, and can be utilized to create fires like the fires in California, can be used for readying the immediate local environment for things like the Beirut, Lebanon explosion. This is all part of chemical and electromagnetic, planetary and geophysical. You see how they all overlap. So that would have to do with even hurricanes that wipe out areas, so that now we can have a whole rebuilding program, get the poor people out of there and move it in a different direction. So geoengineering is used for all, these are the first three operations. The fourth operation is directed energy, and that it certainly has to do with plasma weapons, et cetera, that we've seen in Star Wars and various films. But directed energy weapons also mean weaponizing the very Earth environment as a way to weaponize it, use it as a weapon, and push it in a certain direction. So that's, you've got to expand your idea of directed energy weapons to not just be laser guns and particle beams. The fifth operation is surveillance and neural weapons. This gets into the mind control. Yes, the surveillance has to do with watching everyone, but again, you've got to expand that idea to see that it leads directly into neural weapons and control over the brain. The next one, the sixth operation, I've kind of connected them all. Digital biology, nanotechnology, and transhumanism. Now, the fact that digital biology exists, that means that molecular biology is being translated into digital biology ever since we left analog for digital. And that has to do with the nanotech that we have inhaled and ingested through GMO foods and are vaccinated with. Nanotechnology is huge. I can't stress enough that it is everywhere and in everything. And the problem with that is that nanotech is really, what they're doing is, a nano is 1/1000th of a meter. And they're laying atoms next to each other to make these, the size known as nanometers, you know, all the way from 1 to 100, and then down from there, all the way down to the next tiny, tiny world measurement. And so nanotechnology is something that we all need to learn about. It should be front and center for all of us, because they don't know what it can really do on the large scale. And it has been loosed into the atmosphere, it's in the soil, it's in our bodies, it's in our brains. So this is huge, and I can't stress it enough. I'm spending a lot of time on nanotech, which all leads to transhumanism, because if you can create a human who is no longer out of the natural world, but out of the man-made created world, you can have a cyborg type of human being that can survive in space, make it past the Van Allen belts, do all sorts of things that have nothing to do with morality, ethics, um, culture, and this is the direction that we're being dragged in. Finally, the seventh operation is the cloaking, obscuration, and detection of exotic propulsion craft. That would mean the TR-3B, the X-37B, which are our ships that have hovering capacity and can go for many months without fueling, etc. These are ion-driven craft, in my opinion. And it also includes, though, the detection and obscuration of exotic plasma life forms. So in the cloud cover, sometimes if you look deeply into a cloud, which is basically not a moisture particle cloud like the old days, back when we all lay in a field and thought that, you know, a cloud looked like a fish. These are all plasma clouds that we have now, all man-made. And the plasma life forms and the plasma propulsion craft can actually hide in these clouds, and we can see them now and then, but we don't know what we're looking at because we're not being educated along these lines. So, so there's the 7 basic operational categories that I work with as a sort of a structure upon which to hang my analyses, my ideas, various papers and patents from the military and military industrial intelligence complex. This is how I work, and I wanted to put that up front and center so that you would know that there are 7 basic categories of operations. This is huge, in other words. Is there a much larger topic that we're all pursuing? 5G comes to mind, but 5G is definitely involved in this, particularly in the biological and the neural weapons operations. No, I don't know of a larger scale thing that the American public knows next to nothing about. It's never brought up. I mean, it's rarely brought up, and usually in terms of NASA having done this, that, or the other, or Harvard University having studied this, that, or the other. No, we are being diverted from understanding the huge elephant in the sky, as Arthur Furstenberg, I heard, called it. A great term. And I want to make sure that people understand what is all around us now that our entire environment, outward and inward, has been weaponized.
Absolutely. This is what modern warfare looks like. People are expecting World War II technology. Hello, folks. We are in the 21st century. This is what warfare looks like now.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually did a show way back when on the television show, The Freeman Perspective, about these, what did they call them? But we were seeing entities in the clouds, and it was like Final Fantasy, the movie, or the video game movie, and they were showing videos of these entities that just seemed to form in the chemtrail plasma clouds that you could then see them. Like, you wouldn't be able to see them unless these clouds. And then they showed us, and I watched this over and over again with these guys. They had video of it all. The chemtrails would literally go and shoot the plasma beings, and they would disperse. It was, it could have been coincidence, could have been whatever. I don't know. It could have just been forms in the clouds, but yet example after example showed some sort of strange plasma beings being highlighted by chemtrails and then taken out by them. And that was
Yes.
about 15 years ago.
Yeah. And I remember the one where you see a plasma beam, actually a beam weapon, shooting up into space. And
Yeah.
I guess it was the ISS that had the camera rolling, or maybe it was one of the shuttles that we still had then, that you could see that the entity it was targeting took a quick left or right turn and avoided being struck. So no, I'm convinced there are beings, entities in the atmosphere. I'm not someone who really feels I need to yet import anything from Alpha Centauri. I think I can look at our atmosphere and possibly what's inside the Earth itself in plasma forms, or that can at least take plasma forms. I think that's what Wilhelm Reich was doing, and then Constable was also involved in that. His wonderful book, Constable's wonderful book, The Cosmic Pulse of Life. In there, he has all these black and white photos of infrared shots that he took in the desert, the same desert that Wilhelm Reich did a lot of his activities when he was using his cloud busters to destroy these same plasma-bodied entities. And you see these entities. I used to communicate with Constable before he died, a wonderful guy, and he felt that they were sort of like macro, instead of micro-bodied beings like you would see under a microscope. These were macro-sized, and they often were just big blobs of plasma instead of protoplasma that I was accustomed to in biology. And some of them had little teeny weeny eyes even. And you could tell that they seemed conscious. So I think that our atmosphere is loaded with entities that are not physical in the sense we are, but now that we're entering plasma physics on a big scale, not just astrophysics, but plasma physics, I think that our government forces and the military-industrial intelligence complex that's running the geoengineering programs knows very well that these entities exist. Some of them, as I recall, are also able to create their own plasma cloud cover, right? I mean, I've seen video shots of that as well. They just sort of poop out a whole bunch of plasma that creates an amazing cloud right there, and they crawl right inside it. Well, I mean, what a time, huh? That all of this, and then it makes me wonder about the so-called disclosure project, which I have a lot of doubts about as being like a CIA-run PSYOP. But we, meanwhile, if we know what we're looking at, which of course they don't want us to know what geoengineering really is, and they don't want us to know what plasma really can do. If we know what we're looking at, we can see that our entire planet is populated by all kinds of beings. And I find that thrilling to know that. Yeah, okay, you need to be, sort of on your guard. They are not human beings. They are not moral in the sense that we are moral, but they are not amoral either. They simply have a different world that they live in. And that, I think that quantum physics that's also coming online, I think that is very helpful to us too, to see that there are different dimensions and that they interpenetrate. And that also, I have to say that all this electromagnetic stuff, all this wireless stuff, now we really have to learn about the invisible world of waves, of how frequency works, how pulsing frequencies works. I think this is all really good if we take up the challenge. But if we just get afraid and, just like to have our cool iPhone, which by the way, I don't own one of those either. And if we just kind of hang with the technology and hope that the experts are being nice to us and not trying to destroy us with that technology that the military finally gave us after having had it themselves for 1 to 2 generations. I think that this is good for us to learn how to see into the invisible, which we now know has to do with plasma and has to do with the ether, which, as you know, was banned back in the 1920s as being a term that no scientist was any longer allowed to use in a scientific context. And you know, it's Reich where he calls it orgone. It's kind of, you know, potato, tomato, tomato. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It is ether. And instead of saying, as they do, that 99.9% of the universe is made of plasma, the truth is that 99.9% of the universe is made of ether, which then, as the electric universe people will tell you, or the Thunderbolts Project will tell you, that once the ether has an electromagnetic event in space, in our universe, then that electromagnetic event creates the beginnings of plasma. And plasma is the fourth state of matter. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's the first state of matter, because it is how we all start with these bodies that we have. So, you know, I can't tell you, Freeman, how much fun I've had. I'm just a knowledge junkie. And I have dug deep into plasma physics and things that I never thought I would dig this deep into. And I've just been thrilled with how big my world view has gotten.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've called myself an info junkie for a long time. And I've constantly stated that I never went looking for any of this. I was just the perfect vessel for it, and I just ate it up. Yeah, when we're in a time where, you know, it's, I think a decade ago, when CERN and the Vatican sent up a device to the International Space Station to see the anti-universe. You know, the alpha magnetic spectrometer was what it was called, and its corporate logo is a reptilian claw because it's put up by a corporation named Grawlator. But
Wow.
you know, like they don't hide,
You
right?
can't make this stuff up.
You can't. And it's all real. I mean, everything you said, the ion engines, China announced that they had come up with that. Then the American military announced that. The second sun simulator, the new light experiment was put up by Russia back, you know, like, I don't know, that was almost 15, 18 years ago when they put that big array in the sky trying to make a second sun. It was on the news. You know, that's the thing, is none of this is hidden. And talking about mind control, during this lockdown for the past 165 days, there have been so many rocket launches. It's ridiculous. I mean, last night or this week, the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, just launched a giant rocket into space to put up more of their secret military satellites. There have
More and
been
more satellites, yes.
almost 300 Starlink satellites launched so far. And we had the first man or first humans sent back into space from America during all of this. Like, all of this is going on during this lockdown, like rocket launch after. I mean, my Twitter feed is almost filled. I mean, it's almost like 3 times a week they're launching something. And yet I still, just to speak on the mind control, I still get messages of, "Oh, Freeman, you don't believe in space, do you?" And I'm like, "Oh my God,
Wow.
guys, you don't listen to me at all, do you?" Uh,
Wow. Yes, I've been following that, and of course, yeah, it has to do with the 5G connection, and the 5G and the 6G are really crucial to an AI run world in which you can transfer digital biological virus concoctions, whatever. Uh, you can transfer them electrically if you have prepared the environment of your target. And this is the real reason why the entire Earth has been weaponized in the sense of um, wireless technology. I mean, frequency for sure. And the fact of the gigahertz is crucial. and even higher frequencies. I mean, if you look at the frequencies and really study what they mean, you will quickly realize that these are not for the human being we have had. There's no way that we, the natural human beings, can survive this kind of arming of the planet. Even 60 gigahertz, as we all know now, has to do with really a tremendous assault on our cells of its water. And we have to understand, if we can, and there's been so much brouhaha that's been created around the Wuhan event, that a lot of people think that what happened there is the same thing that happened in New York and Northern Italy, etc. No, no, no. Wuhan was different. Wuhan was the event that was being experimented with just 2 to 3 weeks after the first onslaught of 5G satellites was launched and up and running in space. So what we saw with the dropping of the people, whether it was actors or if it was real, and I tend to think it was real, is we were watching people's cells completely, I think it's called apoptosis. They were dying because of the 5G, and as you know, Wuhan was tremendously armed with 5G beyond the pale. I mean, the Chinese really did it up big time because, of course, they had 2 bioweapons places there. So what we saw was the life being completely expired because of what had entered that person through the air. I don't know if it was aerosol or what. I don't know if there was even a virus involved, but I do know that the 60 gigahertz environment in spades had a tremendous amount to do with what we saw and then what we were led to believe happened. Now I've heard that China is doing very well in its lockdown. In fact, it's pretty much.
There's a party in Wuhan. I saw it.
It's pretty much over. And so it makes sense to me that I will maintain the possibility that we were made to see something that we did not have the details for as to what really we saw. But one thing you did see was how quickly, when other doctors began to scratch their heads and query about the 5G fact in their own hospitals and the impact it was having on people with so-called, I won't use the word, then they began to realize that that 5G was important, and then boom, all those videos just gone,
So
like
fast.
immediately. So I'm going to maintain that the 5G, 6G is a crucial thing to pay attention to in understanding anything viral, anything even not even really viral, but spoken of as being viral. We need to really make sure that we understand the impact that these frequencies have on us, and understand that all these satellites are going up, like you said, they're just going up, boom, boom. It's not just Elon Musk, my friends.
No.
It is far more. DARPA too has sent up, I can't remember how many now.
Countless.
So let's pay attention to that aspect, and less to the mask and all the rest that I'm sick and tired of hearing about. Not that it isn't important to understand a possible vaccine coming down the pike, which I think we're already getting some real news about regarding the mRNA aspect to it. I think we need to very much pay attention to that. But meanwhile, the geoengineering is going afoot, and people ask me a lot, send me emails, etc. Elana, could they be vaccinating us with aerosols? Well, of course, the problem with vaccinating with aerosols is you're going to lose a lot unless you target. And so again, we're back to the 5G, because 5G is all about phased array antennas. And what phased array antennas are great at, as you can ask anyone who knows about HARP, those are phased array antennas, and they're super at targeting and steering and projecting. So yes, they could feasibly in 5G environments, not 4G, but 5G, and yet 4G may do it because that's where a lot of the antennas for 5G are going up on 4G towers now as a disguise element. They're very small. So you would need to have the environment prepared to be able to inject a population with some sort of vaccine element. So it is possible, but again, let's pay attention to the preparation of the environment for assaults like the 5G and 6G. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Was that clear? Was that clear?
Was, yes.
Okay.
Because what we're looking at here is frequency modulation, and the idea is even to go back, well, to the fact that you can engineer a virus into a body using frequencies. This was shown.
Yes.
In the
and I think that's what we saw in Wuhan. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. I really think that AI is writing this script, and everybody that's following the cues is because it's such a hokey apocalypse that we're in. I really suspect AI to write it.
Hokey, that's good.
It really is.
We have to have a laugh, I tell you.
Yeah, you can't help it. But yeah, there's a rare doctor out there that would take in the environment as part of what was your cause of illness. You know, you go in for barium poisoning because you've been sucked into chemtrails forever, and they're going to tell you you're having a heart attack or whatever. They're not going to once consider to go test your barium levels or see what your environment was before. You know, they just take the symptoms and give you the answers, and they don't have the answers because they're not looking at any of this stuff.
That's right. That is right.
Let's see. Well, you know, all right. So speaking of the alien life forms, as we were discussing, cephalopods, octopi, and all the strange little critters on the bottom of the ocean were able to change their appearances and forms and all of that. They just announced that they are now have the ability to genetically modify cephalopods because they seem to have eluded the geoengineering, genetic modification from these doctors. And so now even the octopi aren't safe from this genetic modification. So this is a lot of what's happening to the human being, like you're saying. It's being prepared for this new world. Can I go a little Philip K. Dick with you as we go?
Oh yeah, he's my favorite, absolute favorite.
I was contemplating our last talk with Billy Hayes and the space fence, and the idea that there have been now about 25 years of chemtrails that have been expanding out from the centrifugal force and creating a disk out into space and giving them massive computing possibilities using basically a giant laser disk that's forming in space around the planet like a ring of Saturn.
Right.
Now, what I started thinking about was if you had quantum computers, you know, D-Wave, and you had this technology and you had completely filled our atmosphere with these particulates and nanoparticulates, then as you are able, I mean, they can do it with the phones, they can do it, but as you are able to track every movement of every human being on planet Earth due to the frequency, because you'd be able to now see the frequencies, right? Because you've completely permeated the entire atmosphere, you can see. So why would it not be possible to take all of that data of every human being, every animal, everything on planet Earth's movement and project the future?
Well, you're now reminding me of um, you're reminding me of the SWS, the Sentient World Simulation, and this also is a very, very important thing to consider. And there is a white paper still available on the net from, I don't know if it's from DARPA or one of those guys. Anyway, Sentient World Simulation. And what it basically is saying, if I understood it properly after 3 readings, is that through frequency and all of the surveillance of human activity, basically targeting populations, targeting individuals, sucking big data out of all of it to feed into machine learning AIs. There's also this idea that if you can get the right frequencies and the right information, you can actually create a virtual Elana in another dimension, basically probably some sort of frequency dimension, and then if you really get her right, and you've really gotten everything about her Earth life right, and you've created this other Elana, then you can actually use her, the virtual Elana, to now program the Earth Elana. And I find this to be quite extraordinary because I'm aware of nanosensors, first of all, just to give it a little bit of an earthy anchoring. I've studied the nanosensors pretty deeply, and they are being released by the trillions in space, and they're being put into all sorts of things, clothing, streets, whatever, and they're nano-sized, but they are basically little computers, little transceivers. They transmit and they receive. So they're feeding big data because I guess the machine learning AIs have to have a ton of data in order to be machine learning. So that's going on. And because they're everywhere, they are able to get a lot of information about each of our bodies and each of our lives. Because these little guys are floating all over the place. They're in a lot of the smart dust that collects in my little apartment here very rapidly. I mean, I don't remember, and I don't live in an industrial area at all. So I think that that may be what you're talking about, in that they're creating the future by creating virtual selves, virtual everybody's. And anyway, that's my response.
Right. Yes, that they can see that. They can then manipulate you, as they've announced through the Shadowgate conspiracy, to use different triggers on you and bring you in. So we did a show recently, Everybody is a Targeted Individual Now. Maybe we can wrap up
Absolutely,
the last
absolutely.
10 minutes on that concept, but
Well, first of all,
Sure.
let me just add in here before you go on
Go
that
ahead.
I do know a targeted individual well, the son of a friend, and we take a walk once a week and sort of go over how his week has been as I'm learning from him about the targeting and reinforcing him in positive ways of looking at how he can deal with it. And what they are doing in him, and I'm sure it's happening in hundreds of thousands of people, especially young people. I think he's 34, and I'm sure it's happening in even younger, is they are using virtual reality on him. So take even the voice of the AI that's talking to him. And sometimes there may be a human operator there, but it appears that the human operators as well are programmed by AI. So it really doesn't matter if they're human or not. I just assume it's all AI. So they're using cartoon characters. So the voice is sort of like Mickey Mouse or Betty Boop or any of those old cartoon characters. And they're monitoring everything he says. It's a voice to skull kind of thing, constant 24/7. And then they can create whole cartoon scenes, three-dimensional, in his bedroom if they so choose. They can throw it up on the wall. They can do two-dimensional or three-dimensional on these virtual reality scenarios in order to terrify him, torture him, show him how cool they are, whatever. And that's what I think has to do with the SWS. I think that they're doing a lot of virtual work with a lot of people, and it's not always cartoons. It's going to be something else. And you go back to the idea that I can't remember who said it, but the idea that the internet will one day be everywhere. So I think that is exactly what they're heading for, that the internet will be all around you. You might be able to plug in or not plug in. You might be able to not be part of it at will. I find that hard to believe, but that the internet can be completely used to feed you something utterly different than what you thought you were getting, et cetera. Do you see what I mean? That it's actually in the environment, just as the environment is being weaponized now for all these wireless activities of the geoengineering being the handmaiden of the secret space program and of the future, like you were saying, that they can actually use the environment that is entirely sensor filled, nano filled, electromagnetically filled, to make the internet happen all around you and use it as a way to fuse you with virtual worlds. Okay.
Yes. And to me, it seems synchronicity is the cure. And the face masks and social distancing and all of the lockdown have completely removed our weapon of choice, our weapon of peace, synchronicity that would guide us into new states, to find ideas that we would have never thought of, to bring us places we would have never gone. And that would absolutely stop this AI from projecting our future, because our future would now be in technically God's hands. And we would find these synchronistic paths through each other throughout all of this and be guided in ways that we would have never considered. But maybe they can hijack synchronicity as well. But it looks to me like face masks and social distancing and lockdowns are the perfect way to keep synchronicity down.
Yeah, and I think of Robert Duncan. You know who he is, right? The guy who used to work for the NSA, and I don't remember what else. He's written a couple of books. The one I have that I edited because I'm obsessive mainly, and I couldn't read it well enough. And then I sent it to him. Having done that, I didn't, like with Shelby's books, Shelby Downard's book, I didn't ask for pay. Anyway, Robert Duncan has a book called The Matrix Deciphered. You can find it on the net if you want to, Freeman. He admits to having been programmed while he was working for the NSA, building the very devices that they eventually turned on him in order to control his mind. And it's from him that I've learned several terms that that are very useful. I'm sure you're used to the term remote neural monitoring, RNM. I learned that term from Robert Duncan.
I'm not familiar.
And that is a very important mind control term, because remote neural monitoring obviously is remote, but it's really remote. We're talking satellite. Dr. John Hall, a targeted individual, has written a couple of books in which he references satellite control over the mind. Well, they're using RNM. And in order to do that, now I'm getting back to your idea of synchronicity and would you have access to it? Yeah, that's a really big question. Your consciousness, is the consciousness of Elana going to be able to make it through this or not? I mean, I could compare myself with someone who hasn't spent years developing their consciousness, and I would think that I would have a better chance of making my way through. Well, I don't know that that's true. Maybe I'm about to find out. But what Robert Duncan makes very clear is the very first thing that the satellite RNM, remote neural monitoring, has to do is come up with your individual evoked potential. And that is a frequency signature that is entirely your own. Nobody else has that signature. So here's what I'm thinking. They can use, like, I think that the Portland rioting and the violence quotient that just upscaled, and I could go all the way back to Ferguson, Missouri, and the violence quotient there. I've watched this for a long time. I'm wondering, because of the cell phone omnipresence, I told you I don't own one, but everybody else I know owns one. And is it possible that, I know they have the frequencies for all the emotions. So they just hit a population with a frequency for violence, and they're going to feel it, and they're going to ante up. Now, some people are going to ante up more than others because of their proclivities and, you know, their natural self. But that idea that you could use it, you could use so much for a population, but for actual remote neural monitoring, which is, you're going to have that one individual after one individual after one individual's evoked potential in order to make this satellite leash connection work. So that's where I'm a little, I'm a little in doubt as to how this is going to work out. If they're doing us individually, that's a heck of a lot of people. So my guess is they're only going to do certain people individually, and otherwise they're going to do collective frequency stuff through the cell towers and the nanosensors that are everywhere and the cell phones and the nanobots inside our bodies. They're going to hit those too. And those are going to have an they're going to have an impact on how we're feeling and what we're thinking and where we're going. So I think there are various kinds of programming going on, basically. And the synchronicity one would have, to me, the best chance in the remote neural monitoring one, where you're being individually targeted according to your evoked potential. And you know, if you can face that, and Duncan talks about that. I don't know how well he's done. He obviously is being medicated to the gills, because you can see that puffiness that comes from those types of drugs. But I'm really grateful to him, because he gave me a real insight into that whole technology. And he's going around giving talks. He's not dead. So I assume he's doing some disinfo too, or helping people avoid certain areas. but I still can utilize what he says.
Absolutely. And, I always think of Jordan Maxwell, who says it's fine if people are listening to you. It's when they hear you that you have problems.
That's good.
Yeah. So
That's good. That's good.
well, here we sit with Jeff Bezos being the first human on planet Earth to own $200 billion. We can see our
Whatever.
new future coming down the line. Do you feel like this is humanity's last stand, that this is the moment that we need to stand up and fight? Like, this is it, guys?
Well, I do feel that, and the reason I work so hard, I mean, I'm a Rudolf Steiner person. I don't know what that means exactly, but, I like my teachers and gurus dead so that I can read their material and not fall sway to their charisma. I've studied Steiner since I took Waldorf teacher training many years ago, 1977. And I have gotten a great deal out of Dr. Steiner. And I mean, one of the things you must have heard while all these doctors were talking is that there is no virus. That's what Steiner said many years ago. There is no such thing as a virus. No, there isn't. There's only nanobots, nano entities, which, by the way, because they're formed from atoms, are actually on the very threshold of the quantum worlds. So that's another reason that not just that we don't know quite what they do from having experimented with them sufficiently, but the really big thing is, are they a dimension being, bringing in a whole other dimension? And if they use these nanobots, this nanotechnology, which they will, to cyborg us, to turn us into brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, maybe they'll want to do it for the secret space program. Maybe that's their thing. They want to be able to get past those radiation Van Allen belts. So far, to my knowledge, they haven't been able to. And maybe they want a cyborg type model to be more amenable to being run by AI systems. That makes sense. Whatever it means, whether they're going to do it genetically through messing with us through a vaccine, or through our nanobots in 5G and 6G environments, however they choose to do it, I have felt for quite a while that it's got to be all hands on deck, and that I have to give this everything I've got to save the human being from being run like a slave robot, so that we have some chance at developing free will while we're here on the earth. It bothers me that these Satanists, and that's what I think of them as, they are, to me, a Satanist is anti-human, basically. That's also my definition of evil, anti-human. They seem to really despise the divine world. Now, I'm not, an expert on the divine world, but I know there is one. And I know that it has suffused nature on this planet. And why we love this planet so much is because the divine world is here too. And I want people to have the opportunity to develop their free will. Now, a lot of people don't develop their free will. We all know that. They're couch potatoes, or they join organizations so they have someone to tell them what to do, or whatever. That doesn't matter. I simply want the opportunity here. And so I do not want these nanobots crawling around inside me to be used to control my brain, and therefore my mind, and possibly even my soul. So that's why I'm fighting so hard. Now, Is it inevitable? No, it's not inevitable. Not at all. As I say again and again, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And I'm still going. And I know, I think I know via Rudolf Steiner how the spiritual world works. It is not the great father, the great benign father in the sky with the long beard that loves his dear little children on the earth. That is not my idea of the divine world. The divine world is filled with souls and beings who have very high standards. And they are, Rudolf Steiner once said that the human being is the religion of the gods. And though some people may be bothered by the plural use of the word God, it doesn't really matter. What he's referring to are very high beings that are all rallying behind the human being, but who cannot interfere with human affairs because we have to develop our own free will. We have to learn to handle being a divine being in a body on a physical planet. We have to be able to make our own decisions as to whether we will support what is right and good, even if it looks scary. We have to have that right. And so for me, the more I rally, the more I work, it is my idea that the spiritual world can draw that much closer because I am operating out of my free will, not out of any mandate or the Bible or anything. I am operating out of my free will. So I sometimes wonder, Freeman, when I go to sleep at night, for a long time now, maybe just because I'm writing this book and I get very intense when I'm writing, but when I go to sleep, almost every night, I awaken in the morning. I sleep very well, usually. I awaken in the morning. I'm in a classroom. I'm in a cooperative living situation with others. We're all discussing something, or I'm teaching people in classrooms. I mean, I'm saying this goes on every night. I mean, where am I? What am I doing? You know, am I carrying what I'm doing here to someplace else? I have to assume I might be. Because I remember years ago, as long as we're in this realm, I had a period where I went to sleep at night and I would end up in these, what I call bardos, Tibetan bardos, these places of illusion. And they would be really down and out places of illusion. The color, I knew I was there because the color is very garish and weird. And my job, and I knew my job was to help people awaken to the fact that they were dead. I was in the realm of the dead, and they did not know they were dead. So I would enter these tenement buildings, and there would be some girl sitting on the steps shooting up. There would be kids with poop and dirty little children running around. It was a horrible place. And I would go from apartment to apartment and sit down with whoever was in there and try to tell them, hey, you're dead. You need to realize that so you can move on. There's a lot of places you can go to work on what you have to work on. You don't have to be here unconscious. So to me, the dream world, my grandmother was a Romanian gypsy, so maybe that's part of why I'm like this. But for me, my dreams are just they're another world, and they're real. They're absolutely real. I just have to, I'm a little rusty on figuring out quite the context in which they are. But that one I was very clear on. These school dreams, well, I've been a teacher all my life, of course, but yeah, we're all working on something. There's a lot of people on the other side that I meet when I'm asleep, and we're all working on something.
Right.
So I have great confidence that the fat lady has not sung yet.
Absolutely. I am with you there 100%. This is one of the greatest possibilities of humanity right now, and all of the veils are being pulled down. So it's the first time humanity finally is going to get a clear picture of what they're up against. And you have been tireless, Elana. I can't believe I hope this doesn't sound bad, but I can't believe you are 73 years old, because you work amazingly, and your spirit is so bright, your knowledge so deep. It's amazing to know that you're out there doing this almost every day of the week.
Always. Yeah.
Yes.
Like sometimes people say, take a vacation. Well, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, this is my vacation. What are you talking about? Well, guys, get out there and check out Chemtrails HARP and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. You don't want to miss that, along with Under an Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown. These are the books of Elana Freeland. And of course, you will find them on alanafreeland.com to get all of that information. And the new book coming out, is it going to be titled Synthetic Biology and Transhumanism?
Well, I've got 3 titles staring at me. I haven't decided yet, but the one at the top right now is called Geoengineered Transhumanism: How the Environment Has Been Weaponized by Chemicals, Electromagnetism, and Nanoparticles for Synthetic Biology. I'm famous for my short titles, right?
Yes.
Oh,
I
but
like that one, though.
I wanted to, could I mention my Sub Rosa America series?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I want to mention that because the Sub Rosa America series has gotten short shrift from me, because about the time I was finishing it, after 20 years of research and writing, I might add, I got involved in the chemtrails geoengineering movement, and have really just kind of shut it in the corner, poor thing, when the truth is, I believe it is my magnum opus at this point. And what it's about, there are 4 books, 1,300 pages of a fictional format, because I wanted to have the ability to comment on America. I did not want to do it in a non-fictional format, but it's basically 4 history books of America since Kennedy's assassination. And it is about a group of 60s types who don't know each other very well, but all get together in Santa Barbara in 1970. And they want to drive to Dallas to see where Kennedy was shot. And they set out on Route 66, which, as you know, is the Mother Road. And this is all done as a flashback by an old woman hiking into the Rockies in the year 2019. I mean, I can hardly believe I chose that year, but I did. And I chose it because I had a dream in which the numbers 2019 were about 4 stories high, and they were on fire. And when I awoke, I was so breathless and moved that I decided that, yeah, that's the year that this old woman will be in, as she is trekking along the Oregon Trail and meeting all kinds of ghosts, dreamers, dead people, living people, all sorts of things going on. And she reminisces when she met her friends, whom she's hoping to encounter now that the United States and the world seems to be collapsing in a geoengineered nightmare. And that I chose in 1993. Now, how did I know that?
Right.
So anyway, I highly recommend for people who feel that the 60s generation was completely, was about far more than sex, drugs, and rock and roll, though we had some of that. And it's about what really happened from Kennedy's assassination, and the United States never having done anything about it. I mean, look around. This is completely connected to what happened with the Kennedy assassination. This is the deep state. This was their great coup, was that assassination. and then the two assassinations that followed in that, what I call the assassination of the three kings. So I wanted to give a pitch for that. It's on Evil Amazon, and I highly recommend them.
So, folks, that is Sub Rosa America, a deep
Yeah,
state
and then
history.
the subtitle is A Deep State History. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I'm gonna go grab that for sure. I want to see where you were at.
Oh, you'll love
pulling
it.
this out.
You'll love it. Yeah. You'll know most of it though, you know.
Well, that's what makes books fun, right? Like when you can really jive with it and really feel it. And so, yeah, I think I would enjoy that a lot. Sub Rosa America, and that is alanafreeland.com if you want to get deeper into that. And I better say thank you, Steve Mercer, for being the force behind the ball and keeping everything rolling. Everybody give Steve much love for being the hidden factor in the free zone. And you can always write him with any ideas, guest suggestions, producer Steve at freemantv.com. And of course, you can write me, Freeman, at freemantv.com. Let me know what you're thinking. We still have tens of thousands of listeners here, so that's great. Don't think you're alone. Don't think you're alone, folks. There's a lot of you listening to this program right now, and that's fantastic. If you want to connect with me, I'm on Twitter, Freeman TV, at Freeman TV on Twitter, so that you can follow along there. And of course, Elana has her Facebook pages, which will be linked here in the show notes for you to go and follow her along on there. I'm trying to keep a presence on Facebook, but I personally have been banned, so I have secret people doing that for me, but they're just posting what I ask, so it's technically me, just so you guys all know. And we're going to get into a much deeper and esoteric side of this puzzle in the next hour, so if you're not yet a member, come on over to freemantv.com and subscribe. Get the second hours. They're well worth it. And you become a producer of this program. You help keep this information going out to those tens of thousands of people that need it. But we're going to get deeper and deeper. So make sure to come on over and dig deep. There's lots to go on, and there's no such thing as an old show here on the Free Zone. It seems to take a generation for people to catch up with what's going on. So, there's no such thing as an old show. Dig as deep as you want. I'm going to end this program on a note from Rudolf Steiner. And as we move into the second hour, where Elana and I are going to get deep into Freemasonry, Sir Francis Bacon, Atlantis, and a lot more esoteric arts that you didn't even know she talked about. So that's going to be wonderful. I hope you all will come over and subscribe. But Rudolf Steiner said, now, you might be able to give me a year on this. I can't. Oh, this is 1917, right? I have told you that the spirits of darkness are going to inspire their human hosts, in whom they will be dwelling, to find a vaccine that will drive all inclination towards spirituality out of people's souls when they are still very young. 1917, folks. We're going to dig deep. We're going to get into the esoteric. It's going to be something else. So I'm excited. And I have so many notes here on just this program that I'm going to be looking into Matrix Deciphered, The Sentient World Simulation, Carnivals of Life and Death by Downard. There's so many things that you've left us with and so many ideas. And what an amazing show we've had right here. And I can't wait to just end this and get on into the member section and dig deep. So let's end it here. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.